Hi everybody, this is Shawna Odette from the Flying Cat Academy. Welcome to lesson number 25. In today's lesson, we will teach the student the two sounds of S. Let's set up the table. You'll need your top 160 sight word list, the sight word study method instruction sheet, the sight word card pack, some blank cards, a highlighter, some markers, and some pencils. For the short vowel drill, you'll need the teacher instruction sheet, the keyword pictures, and a keyword sentence. For the phonemic awareness drill, you'll have the teacher instruction sheet and the colored tiles for the student. Then we have the visual drill and the auditory drill instruction sheets and the card pack on which the student is currently working. The syllable card drill will be set up on the table. You'll have to cut that one out in advance. And then you'll have the magnetic letter tile drill for spelling and for reading. That goes with the cookie sheet with the magnetic letter tiles spread in a rainbow shape. You'll have the syllable pounding sheet, the new phoneme grapheme kinesthetic discovery sheet, and then the lesson sheets, which will include the single word list, the story, and the 3 sentences for the writing section of the lesson. In addition to all of that, we will have the sliders that we're using for the closed syllable exception review. Once the student has mastered one of the sliders, one of the different exceptional families, then you can take the slider out and you don't have to have the student do it anymore. The final thing that's going to be on the table is we're going to do a sort, because in the new section, the new content section of the lesson, we'll be teaching the student the two sounds of S. Let's get started. We'll begin with the sight word study method. Student, take out your sight words. I'd like you to read the word on each card. When you finish, if you've got it correct, then you'll put a check mark in the corner of the index card. When you're finished reading the pack, I'd like you to give the pack to your teacher. Then it's your teacher's turn to read. The teacher will read each word and you will write them down on a piece of paper. When you write a word correctly, give it a check mark in the other corner of the index card. When you're finished, you can have a discussion with your teacher about which words you think are mastered. And when you're done all that, if there's time, you can have a new sight word introduced. Okay, student, let's do the short vowel drill. Take out your keyword pictures and your keyword sentence. Take 2 fingers, trace a shape, and say the sound apple, ah, and you underline it and say ah. Do that as many times as your teacher says is necessary, and then move on to the next keyword picture. When you get to the sentence, I'd like you to stretch out those vowel sounds as you say the sentence. It's time for the phonemic awareness drill. Student, for this one, you're going to need your colored tiles. I'm going to tell you that your word is wed. Can you repeat that word? Now let's see, I'll use it in a sentence. The couple will be wed in the summer. Wed for wedding. Can you use wed in a sentence? Okay, now I'd like you to build the word wed with tiles. When you finish, tap it and say it. All right, if that is wed, I'd like you to find the eh in wed. Are you touching it? Change the eh into an I. And tap it, say it. You're not going to get a real word. Did you get wid? If you did, that's right. All right, find the d in wid. And I'd like you to change the d into a n. What's your new word? Tap it and say it. Did you get win? If you did, that's right. Now find the w in win and change the w into a t. What's your new word? Tap it and say it. Did you get tin? If you did, that's correct. Now, I'd like you to add a s onto tin at the front. What's your new word? Tap it and say it. Did you get stin? That's correct. Now let's turn that into a real word. So find the I in stin and change it to an Tap it and say it. Did you get stun? If you did, that's correct. Okay, let's add a t to the end of stun. What's your new word? Tap it and say it. Did you get stunt? If you did, great job. Now, I'm also wondering, do you see how we have the t at the end of stunt? But do you remember that we also had a t as the second tile? St-a-nt. So that means that we would have two tiles that had the color that was the same for t. Okay, great job. Put your tiles away. It's time for the visual drill. Teacher, you'll have the card pack for this one. The teacher flashes the card and the student says the sound that the grapheme makes. So student, you would say, "Eind." Teacher, you can choose 6 to 8 cards and do that drill now and then come back to me. For the auditory drill, the teacher does not show the grapheme to the student. Instead, I say, "Student, your sound is mm." Can you repeat that sound? Now I'd like you to write the symbol that goes with mm. When you finish, underline it and say the sound again. Did you write M? If you did, that's right. Teacher, do this for 6 to 8 cards and then come back to me. It's time for the syllable card drill. Student, your teacher has the drill all set up on the table for you. I'd like you to read down all syllable 1 column in the left, and then read down syllable 2 column, which is on the right. And then I'd like you to read across each row, and you're going to get nonsense words when you do that. The last step is that you'll take the syllable column 2 syllables and you'll unscramble them by adding them together with different ones from column 1 to make real words. Teacher, remember that we'd like to talk about the meanings of these words as we're doing the drill, and on occasion you can have the student put the words into sentences as well. Let's pound out some syllables. Student, you stretch out your arm and you tap your arm, and every time you hear a syllable, one of your fingers comes flying out. Your word is expect. How many syllables are in that one? If you pounded twice, you are correct. Remember that we're listening for vowel sounds. Expecting. Pound it out. Did you get 3? If you did, that's correct. Okay, try this one. Dog. Now, I only hear 1 in that one. I hear the ah of dog. Okay, next one. Dentist. Did you get 2? If you did, that's correct. Good work. We're going to review the closed syllable exceptions by running through the sliders. Your teacher has them on the table for you. And if they don't happen to be there, then I will. You can just keep the video going and I will run you through the sliders. So you can decide if you're going to fast forward me or use the video. In today's lesson, we are going to learn about the different sounds of the letter S. We'll start off with a base that everybody knows, Can you tap and say that one? Yeah, it says cat. So if I said, if you close your eyes, what is the picture that you see of the cat in your mind? Well, we all might have a different picture. I've got a cat on my lap right now. This is Coco. So in my mind, I'm seeing Coco. Hey, Coco. Maybe you have an orange tabby cat in your mind. So the point is, no matter what your cat looks like, you're only seeing one cat. So we have a suffix. Here, I'm going to put you down here, Coco. Down you go. Bye, Coco, thanks. If I put a suffix, an ending, onto the word cat, now I get cats. So close your eyes and now see the cats in your mind. I might be seeing 2 cats. You might be seeing 4 cats. Who knows? And they might have all different colors. But the point is that if we have just the base cat, when we close our eyes, we see 1 cat. So that's a single base. And if I add this suffix, S, it means there's more than 1 cat. Did you know that S has more than 1 sound? What's the sound that you know that S makes? We've been working on it in the visual drill and the auditory drill. It makes S, like a snake, right? Did you know it makes another sound as well? Well, let's see what happens when we add the S on cat. Is it making the normal sound that we'd expect of S, or is it doing something different? Cat. See, I hear a really good snake sound in that one. I hear the S. What happens if... Let me change my word here. I'm going to change my base, and you'll see that S has more than 1 sound. So here's my new base. Can you tap and say that one? It says dog, right? If I want to say that there are more than 1 dog, I add the suffix S. Now say the word. Dogs. Dogs. Do you see what happened? It wasn't the sound. It was something different. What was the sound in dogs? It's making the sound of Z. So we have to understand that S can make the S sound or the Z sound. Those are 2 legit sounds of S. But no matter whether it's sounding like S or Z, we are still going to write it as this grapheme, this letter S. It's allowed to sound like 2 different things. We can predict what it's going to sound like. It all depends on what happens right before it. This is G. Is G a motor on sound or motor off sound? G. Do you feel a vibration in your throat? Put your hands in your throat and give it a try. G. Now, I do feel a vibration. When it is motor on, then we keep the motor on because Z is a big motor on sound, isn't it? Now, watch my mouth when I make S and Z. If you turn the sound off, will you see any difference? S, Z. The only difference between those 2 sounds, like my lips are doing the same thing, my tongue is doing the same thing, the difference is that with the Z sound, the Z, the motor's on. With S, the motor's off. So the way that we can tell what's going to happen with the S, whether it's going to be motor on sound or motor off sound, is what happens right before it. G is motor on. And so we're going to keep the motor on and use the motor on sound of S. That's why it sounds like Z, dogs. Let's go back to cat and see what was happening there. Okay, so we have cats, and we want to think, why is the S motor off? So we look right before it. Always look to what happens before it if you want to understand spelling rules. So, T, is it a motor on sound or motor off? T. That was a motor off. So we're just going to keep the motor off and say the motor off sound of S, which is S. We have a card sort to help you practice the two sounds of S. Almost all of them are real words. I think I have 2 nonsense words in there. But you'll be able to know how the S is going to sound because you just look at what happens right before it. If the consonant right before that S is a motor on, it'll say Z. That's what the S will sound like. And if the motor's off, then the S will make S. Give it a try. Do the card sort now. You can tap and say each word and then discuss how the S will sound with your teacher and how it does sound. It's time for the magnetic letter tile drill. Student, you'll need your board for this one. Your sound is K. Can you repeat that sound? Now find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. The next sound is O. Can you repeat that sound? Now find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. The next sound is A. Can you repeat that sound? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. The next sound is P. Can you repeat that sound? Now find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. The last sound is S. Can you repeat that sound? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Now tap it and say it. Did you get claps? If you did, that's correct. And what sound? Did you notice that the S is making its sound in claps? And how do you know that it has to make that sound? Well, you just look at what happens directly before it. It's a P. So the motor's off when we say P. And we just keep the motor off for S. Let's try a new word. Sound is S. Can you repeat that sound? Now find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. The next sound is W. Can you repeat that sound? Now find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Your next sound is I. Can you repeat that sound? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. The next sound is Can you repeat that sound? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. The last sound is Z. This is a suffix ending. Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Now tap it and say it. Did you get swims? If you did, that's correct. When we say swims, it has that Z sound on the end. But we know that it's the suffix S. Why is the S making that Z sound? Well, the answer is right before it. So look at the M. M is a big motor on sound. So we're just going to keep the motor on when we add the suffix S, and S will make its motor on sound. Z. Okay, good job. Now take some time and read through your single word list, and then read through your story, and then come back to me. It's time for the magnetic letter tile drill again. Student, your word is pops. Can you repeat that word? Okay, let's use it in a sentence. The boy is on his bike and he pops a wheelie. Now you make a sentence. What's the first sound that you hear in pops? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. What's the next sound that you hear in pops? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. And what's the next sound in pops? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. And what's the last sound in pops? Okay, tap each one and say it, and then underline it and say the whole word. Did you get P-O-P-S? Let's look at the consonant that comes right before the suffix S. It's a P. Motor off. And so that means the S will make its motor off sound of S. And it certainly does in pops very clearly. Okay, let's try a new one. Your word is fangs. Can you repeat that word? Okay, let's use it in a sentence. Some animals have fangs. Now you make a sentence. Okay, what's the first sound that you hear in fangs? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. The second sound in fangs is a closed syllable exception, so you're going to have to pull down several different tiles. Pull down the correct tiles and pull them to the middle now. And what's the last sound that you hear in fangs? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Now tap each one and say the sounds, and then underline it and say the whole word. Fangs. And did you remember to write or to pull the tile for S as the suffix ending? Even though it sounds like Z, we're going to write, it will be written as S. So you need the tile S. Okay, great work. Now let's try tapping out some words and writing them down. So you'll need your lined paper and a pencil for this. Your word is calls. Can you tap out the sounds and then grab the word and say the whole word and then write it down? Teacher, you can check the work. Okay, your next one is sinks, as in the ship sinks into the ocean. For this one, you can decide if you want to tap it or you can trace it on your body. I'll let you decide how you're going to do that one. And then you can write it down. Okay, teacher, you're checking the time, and if there's time, you can do a third word with the student, and if not, you can move on to sentences. Teacher, you will read the 3 sentences to the student, and the student will choose the 2 to be written. After a sentence is written, please check your work with CHOPS. Today's lesson, you learned the 2 sounds of S. Student, can you tell your teacher the 2 sounds that S can make? When does the S make its motor off sound? And when does the S make its motor on sound? Have a quick discussion about that. We are at the end of lesson number 25. This is Shawna Odette from the Flying Cat Academy.